Hello everyone and welcome to my CS24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Curse of Oak Island preview. The guys have to hunker down as a hurricane threatens to destroy all their work. The Curse of Oak Island team must brace themselves as they find themselves in the path of a destructive hurricane. And there's more digging in the swamp and an analysis of samples from the Money Pit area. Tonight we'll see the History Channel's Season 11, Episode 16 of The Curse of Oak Island. This episode is called Dark and Stormy, clearly a reference to the hurricane bearing down on the island. Unfortunately, the Oak Island guys are subject to the whims of Mother Nature, and the often harsh climate regularly stops them in their tracks. The team ceases operations every winter as the cold weather descends. The guys already endured flood damage at the garden shaft earlier in the season, and now it seems as though they've got a hurricane to deal with. This is likely Hurricane Idalia, which struck Nova Scotia last August, or perhaps Hurricane Lee, which hit in September. In the preview, Rick stated with plenty of dramatic emphasis, "There's no denying it. This could be the most dangerous day on the island." However, the hard work continues beforehand, and viewers can expect to see a lot of digging in the swamp tonight. Last week, Billy Gerhardt's digger started pulling up a lot of old tree stumps, which could add more fuel to the theory that the marshy area was artificially created. Oak Island team hopes to learn the swamp was created in 1200 AD. The preview showed geoscientist Dr. Ian Spooner speculating that the wood could date back to 1200 AD, putting it at the same age as the paved area. One theory also puts Nolan's Cross in the same era. That would put the stumps in the same time period as the Templar Knights. Also tonight, the team has another expert in the war room who's been testing samples from the Money Pit area. It's unknown exactly which samples he'll be referring to, but it could relate to the proto-mortar soil samples recently recovered at Lot 5 and previously from the Money Pit. The Oak Island guys are always looking for links to the Templar Knights. Whatever the samples might be, the expert suggests they originate from the southeast of France. This could also be construed as a link to the homeland of the medieval order of Templar Knights. The air over Oak Island had a heaviness to it, a kind that made even the most seasoned treasure hunters glance at the sky more often than the ground. What had started as a clear, promising morning quickly shifted as dark clouds began rolling in from the Atlantic, churning like ink spilled across the heavens. The wind, which had been a gentle ocean breeze just hours ago, now hissed through the trees like a warning. Rick Lagina stood on the edge of the Money Pit area, arms folded, eyes scanning the horizon. "She's coming faster than they predicted," he muttered, his voice barely cutting through the gusts. His brother Marty joined him, holding a tablet showing the latest weather updates. The meteorologists just upgraded it. Hurricane strength by nightfall. This isn't just going to be a heavy rain, it's a direct hit. The words seemed to hang in the humid air. Across the island, crew members were scrambling, loading tools into storage containers, sealing off the garden shaft, and securing the newly installed pumps. Weeks of delicate work had gone into stabilizing the dig site, and one savage storm could erase it all in a single night. Gary Drayton, metal detector still slung over his shoulder, jogged up to the brothers, hair whipping in the wind. "I was hoping for a top pocket find today, but looks like the only thing I'm going to be digging for is my own survival kit," he said with a grim smile. "This wind's got that here comes trouble feel to it." Jack Begley was already knee-deep in moving crates of artifacts into a reinforced storage shed. Every fragment of wood, every corroded spike, every bit of evidence they had painstakingly unearthed was now at risk of being swept away. "We can't lose this stuff," he called out. "Some of it's too fragile to ever find again." The swamp team was having its own crisis. The inflatable coffer dam around the swamp had been holding back water for weeks, allowing the team to probe deeper than ever before. But with a hurricane bearing down, the dam's integrity was questionable at best. Craig Tester was on the radio, talking rapidly with the excavator operators. We either dismantle it and risk setting the work back months, or we gamble and hope it holds. Rick joined him. If it breaches during the storm, it could rip through and destroy the entire swamp setup. Craig didn't hesitate. Then we take it down. I'd rather lose time than lose the whole site. By mid-afternoon, the island felt like a war zone. Men shouting over the howl of the wind, machinery groaning as it lifted steel plates, the ocean now a frothing wall of gray that slammed into the shoreline. Cameras struggled to keep lenses clear as rain began to spit sideways, stinging like needles. Inside the war room, the big map of Oak Island shook on its pins as gusts rattled the windows. The team gathered for one last strategy meeting before retreating to the mainland. "This isn't just about protecting equipment," Marty said, leaning over the table. "The hurricane could cause ground shifts. If that happens in the money pit, we could lose our borehole markers, or worse, collapse part of the shaft we've been working on." Rick traced a finger along the cluster of boreholes on the map. "If the ground moves, we might lose our exact positioning on the gold anomaly and that tunnel we've been chasing all season." Gary shook his head. "It's like the treasure itself called in the storm to keep us out." Laird Niven, the team's archaeologist, had been quiet until now, his gaze fixed on the small tray of artifacts they'd recovered just days earlier. A shard of pottery, a worn coin, and a rusted piece of chain. "Weather's always been part of this story," he said. "The men who built whatever's down there must have faced storms like this too. The difference is we know it's coming and we have a choice to protect what we've found so far." Decision made, the team split up once more. At the money pit, the massive drill rigs were anchored with heavy chains. Pumps were wrapped in tarps and tied down. Survey markers were double-checked, their positions logged in multiple GPS systems in case the storm tore them away. Over at the swamp, the coffer dam came down in a careful, controlled dismantling. It pained them to undo weeks of progress, but watching the darkening waves smash against the islands sure made it clear. This was survival, not surrender. By the time the last boat carried the crew to the mainland, the island was already being swallowed by sheets of rain. They watched from a distance as the gray shroud engulfed Oak Island, the trees bending under the force of the wind, the waves clawing higher and higher up the shore. Night fell quickly, the hurricane arriving with the ferocity of a beast unleashed. From the safety of the mainland, the team hunkered down in a small lodge, the power flickering as the storm roared outside. The wind howled against the walls, and every so often someone would glance at the radar, watching the swirling mass of the hurricane's eye as it hovered over their beloved island.